What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Allen. Thanks for joining us for the news this afternoon. Recall efforts targeting lawmakers are intensifying across Taiwan, including in New Taipei, where several civic groups have opened a new joint office to coordinate their campaigns. As Chris Gordon reports, that's as recall drives across the political spectrum are making their way through the process.
Civic groups are stepping up efforts to recall opposition party lawmakers here in northern Taiwan, where they've just set up a new joint office to consolidate several campaigns targeting legislators in the greater Taipei area.
那今天这个场子非来不可，是因为在当初各个罢免团队非常缺乏包含实际的一些实质上的帮助。最后我要讲的是，罢免不是桃园的事，罢免不是新北的事，罢免不是台北的事，罢免是全台湾人的事。
The office's opening event saw speeches and updates from the various campaigns. So far, recall petitions against 35 opposition lawmakers have passed the first stage. Campaigners are now gearing up efforts to collect enough signatures to get the petitions past the second stage. Meanwhile, about a dozen recall petitions against ruling Democratic Progressive Party lawmakers are still being reviewed by the Central Election Commission. As the petition signing efforts heat up, we're sure to see more activity on city streets and perhaps eventually in the voting booth. Luffy Lee and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese students here in Taiwan could soon be barred from studying topics that are sensitive to Taiwan's national security or competitiveness. The Education Ministry is planning a meeting to determine what topics should count as sensitive. Some professors worry that the plan could dampen academic exchanges.
交换生的部目前还有，政府不希望学校去做太多的交流，尤其对一部分的关键技术是会关心的话，那学校当然会在交流上面的话会放慢脚步。
Taiwan hasn't had any full-time undergrad students from China since 2023, and there are only a few Chinese graduate students here. Taiwan's defense ministry says it spotted 30 Chinese military aircraft and 8 naval vessels operating around the country in the 24 hours up to Friday morning. 20 of those aircraft entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This area is not Taiwan's airspace, but acts as a buffer zone for defensive purposes. The defense ministry says one unmanned drone circumnavigated the island, while an official ship was also spotted operating near Taiwan. Japan has unveiled its first ever evacuation plan for Okinawa's remote islands in case of a Taiwan crisis. The plan aims to evacuate 120,000 residents from the islands closest to Taiwan within 6 days to safer locations in Kyushu and Yamaguchi. The plan would transport about 20,000 people a day using civilian flights and ferries and Japan's Coast Guard. A more comprehensive plan in the case of a longer evacuation will be finalized in 2026. Now, for more on why Japan is stepping up its plans for a Taiwan emergency, our reporter Jaime Okon spoke to Japanese security analyst Reina Sasaki, based in Washington, D.C.
I want to first start off with these evacuation plans. How concerned are people in Okinawa about the possibility of a war around Taiwan?
So actually, I visited Okinawa last summer and conducted a series of interviews with local officials, including the mayor of Ishigaki, Yonaguni, and Taketomi, and member of city council and the commander of local Japan Self-Defense Force garrison. So hearing directly from people on the ground really changed how I think about a Taiwan contingency. So I think it's not just a geopolitical issue. It's something that local residents are already living with a real present concern. And then, of course, it's a major concern, especially in Japan's southernmost islands like Ishigaki and Yonaguni, especially Yonaguni. It is just 110 kilometers from Taiwan. For them, Taiwan contingency isn't an abstract concept. It's something that could affect their lives directly.
Is it Okinawa specifically that's concerned? And if so, what is it about that area that is raising anxiety?
Yeah, very much so, especially in Okinawa remote islands. People are paying attention. For example, taxi drivers are talking about PAC-3 missile launches, which is located because of the North Korean missile ones. So I think what's unique is the blend of strategic awareness and limited vulnerability. These islands are exposed not just to military threat, but also economic shocks and natural disasters. And also they saw the some light or like the U.S. aircraft, roaming around the nearby their islands, and then they saw the like military equipment, and then they feel like this is kind of a near crisis or near some danger nearby. Also, in local elementary school, there are even Taiwanese language classes in Yonaguni, so you can really feel still everyday life that Taiwan is considered the closest and most cherished friend of their community.
That was security analyst Reina Sasaki. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has met with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Manila as part of his first official trip to Asia. Hegseth says the U.S. and the Philippines should stand shoulder to shoulder against the threat posed by China. The U.S. Army and the Philippine Armed Forces kicked off their annual Salaknib joint exercises earlier this week, while their annual Belikatan military exercises will begin next month. Hegseth told President Marcos that U.S. President Donald Trump remains committed to a mutual defense treaty with Manila.
He and I both want to express the ironclad commitment we have to the mutual defense treaty and to the partnership, economically, militarily, which our staffs have worked on diligently for weeks and weeks and months.
Hegseth is set to visit Japan on Sunday, where he will meet with Japanese Defense Minister Nakatani Gen. A U.S. judge has ordered the Trump administration to preserve all messages from a Signal group chat where top officials discussed bombing Houthi targets in Yemen. That chat is at the center of a major security breach after a journalist revealed that he was accidentally added by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Atlantic magazine editor Jeffrey Goldberg later published details revealing that they'd shared sensitive military information in that chat. The Justice Department says it's working to track down and save messages from March 11th to the 15th. U.S. allies in Asia are scrambling to respond to President Trump's new 25% tariff on foreign cars, with some even resorting to emergency measures. Joyce Tseng has more.
Stock markets in Tokyo tumble after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a levy of up to 25% on all foreign cars and related parts going to the U.S.
やっぱり心配ですね。関税が高くなればそれだけ物が高くなるからインフレになっていくんじゃないかな。両方で。
なんかちょっと日本とアメリカのその中っていうかそういうのもやっぱ変わってきちゃうんじゃないかなっていう不安ですね。
Trump says the tariffs will help revive car production in the U.S. and restore what was taken by, quote, friend and foe.
And frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe.
Japan, one of the U.S.'s closest allies in Asia, ranks in the top 3 sellers of cars to the United States. Its Prime Minister Ishiba Shiguru carefully weighing a response.
この発表を受けて、私どもとして適切な対応を考えていかねばなりません。あらゆる選択肢というものは当然検討の対象となるものでございます。
Meanwhile, U.S. ally South Korea, also a top 3 car maker for the U.S., vows emergency measures by next month.
글로벌 불확실성이 커지는 상황이지만 우리 기업이 혼자 싸우는 일은 없을 것입니다.
Auto industry experts have warned that Trump's tariffs will hurt American customers the most, as the tax will likely be tagged onto the price of foreign cars. In the state of Georgia, one auto parts seller says he's not too worried, even though 90% of his goods are imported from Taiwan.
All this stuff on this aisle right here, left and right, it all came from Taiwan.
Ernie Simmons says he sees Trump's tariffs as a way to even the playing field for the benefit of American businesses.
I also believe that these countries will come to the realization that they're not going to get a free ride anymore. And they're going to have to treat us when we export something to them the same way that we treat them when they import to us.
Despite being a major exporter of auto parts, Taiwanese cars mostly cater to domestic buyers, so officials here don't expect to be affected by the latest U.S. tariffs. But Trump has also threatened to tax other sectors like chips, Taiwan's most valuable industry, and Taipei is still bracing for impact.
我们都有各种情境的模拟，根据这些模拟找出我们跟产业大家来讨论，那么找出一个比较妥适的因应措施，这样。
Next week, Trump is set to reveal a long-promised reciprocal tariff plan targeting countries that run large trade surpluses with the U.S. Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea are among the top countries that fit that bill. All three friends to the U.S., now watching closely for what its president will do. Chris Ma and Joyce Sin for TaiwanPlus.
Lawyers say Taiwan People's Party founder Ko Wen-je is showing signs of kidney failure and should be let out of detention for treatment. Ko is being held on corruption charges, but his lawyers say bloody urine and vomiting could mean he needs urgent care outside of prison. At a press conference Thursday, Ko's wife said he is still suffering despite getting maximum doses of anesthetics and medication. However, the facility holding Ko says his condition isn't that bad.
截至今27日下午，科员恢复状况良好，未有外界所传之症状。本所后续将密切注意其身体状态，恪遵专业医嘱，及时提供其所需之医疗资源。
A release looks unlikely as the court has extended Ko's detention to June 2nd. Taiwan and 8 other countries have agreed to cut this year's catch quota for Pacific Saury. Countries, including China, Japan, and Russia, are reducing their catches by 10% amid a shortage in the North Pacific. The decision to conserve the popular fish, which is an autumn delicacy in Japan, was made at the annual gathering for the commission that manages fisheries in that area. Over the years, overfishing and global warming have put more pressure on the species. Spring is in the air in Taiwan, and its iconic cherry blossoms are blooming up on Alishan. Visitors can see them via a special mode of transport. Difty Wong takes us there.
All aboard the Alishan Express. This 100-year-old train is chugging along the scenic railway in southern Taiwan, giving passengers a special view of the mountain's iconic cherry blossoms.
那其实简单的讲，我们是把我们的老爷爷火车头请出来，让他载送我们的旅客3趟。那所以它的运用，它不能像平常的一个交通每天运用。其实这个是很珍贵的火车头，所以我们大概只有在特殊的一些季节或是节日，我们才来使用。
Alishan is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the country, but the view from the tracks is not something everyone gets to experience. The cherry blossom train will only run 3 times this season, and it's a 6-hour journey up the mountain, but tourists say every second is worth it.
很新奇，然后那个樱花真的很漂亮，然后那个蒸汽火车在过弯的时候，那看出去，觉得然后再搭配风景，真的很壮丽，
玩不腻。 还是想来，来了10几次了，也是都会想要再来这边看一下，看它有什么变化。
The historic railway has been in operation since the Japanese colonial era. The carriages are made from cypress wood, and the steam locomotive was originally powered by coal, now modified to run on diesel instead. But maintaining the train is still difficult.
那其实修复起来非常困难，因为当初制作这个火车的一个设计这个火车的公司，其实已经都没有在营运了。那所以我们现在不管是材料啊，一些机具材料，其实都没有了，所以维修起来其实相当困难。
A relic of Taiwan's history, these trains have survived for over a century, and they're still running. And as time passes, they've outlasted those who built them and carried generations of passengers who have come to admire the view. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
And thanks for tuning in to What's Up Taiwan. For more of our news reports and other programs, visit the TaiwanPlus website. Finally, relax and get ready for the weekend with these cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.